Hey, it's Mirna from Happiness Academy. Welcome to the Happiness Academy podcast, a place where you can discover practical, simple, yet effective tools from the science of positive psychology. You're at the right place if you're looking to live a life of well-being and joy, staying resilient when facing any challenges, and incorporating a sense of meaning in things you do. Ready? Let's dive in. Today we are covering one of my favorite topics, and that's the topic of zest and living life with vitality and adventure. Let's start with what zest is, and then we'll talk more about how to get it into your life. So when we talk about the topics of strengths within positive psychology, personal strengths and personal qualities, then one of the strengths that you can have and that you can demonstrate, it's called zest. And zest basically means great enthusiasm and energy and vitality, basically, sense of vitality in life. Or I can also share how VIA defines it. VIA is the Values in Action Institute on Character, which is one of the biggest, let's say, authorities in the area of research of personal strengths. So this is what they say about zest, quoting here. They say zest means approaching a situation or life in general with excitement and energy, not approaching tasks or activities halfway or half-heartedly. People who are high in zest are excited they get up in the morning and they live their lives like an adventure. They also say that zest is one of the most connected strengths to life of satisfaction and to feeling engaged in life. So it's really this, the thread towards making us feel more alive and lively within our lives. Interestingly, where does VIA put zest in terms of categories of strength? You see, VIA defines 24 personal strengths that one can have, and then it also defines 6 categories that these strengths are kind of clustered into. And zest belong into courage category. You could be a bit surprised by this. I was initially, but they say it belongs to courage category because what the strengths that belong to courage category have in common is basically that when we exhibit those strengths, we are more prone to exhibit our willpower and do things proactively and face adversity in a more strong way and kind of be more proactive and more active around our life. That kind of connects, I would say, right? So humble brag, zest is also one of my top 5 strengths, and it's really one thing I love about life, and that is also why today I'm really excited to share with you 5 tips, very practical as always, on how you can build a bit more of zest, strengthen your sense of zest these days and in your life in general. Ready? Before we start, I do have to share one more thing, and that is that zest and sense of adventure and sense of vitality and approaching life as an adventure is also one of the things that it's in the very core of how we build learning getaways, the immersive learning experiences at Happiness Academy. And learning getaways are a week-long live events that happen usually once, maybe in the future twice per year, usually in spectacular location, and that have a theme of learning deeper about different practical tools from positive psychology. So if you're looking also to put this in practice and play a little bit more with zest and life of adventure, you might also see to join us for one of the learning getaways. This year, the one happening in September is all on mindfulness and savoring and living life fully. So very up the alley of zest. I'll link it in the comments or in the description, and you can always check it out and see maybe you join us this year or maybe for some of the future experiences. Now, let's get into those 5 practical tips. The first step is creating or protecting the time for what really matters to us. Now, zest is drowned, suffocated, and lost in housekeeping and traffic and all the mundane tasks of everyday life that we need to get done and that we cannot avoid and that don't really give us a lot of joy and a lot of sense of meaning. And of course, these tasks will always be part of our everyday life, and we definitely can work on our mindset to cope with those tasks better, to get some joy out of them as well. However, to live a meaningful life, we have to also create time and space for things that are meaningful to us. And that usually comes from creating things or experiencing things that excites us, that give us sense of meaning, that give us energy. But to do that, to create that space, one needs two things. First, courage to push through the obvious and everyday and to actually make an active choice to do something differently. And second, time. And honestly, between the two, courage is the easier one. No, the time is the one that way too often slips out of our hands and disappears without us even noticing and gets lost in these everyday mundane things. So the first step towards living life with more zest and vitality is recognizing what are those things for us that give us energy, and just we know that probably already, but then really protecting them, creating space and time for them, building boundaries and creating opportunities to do them more. And what these things are, that can be very different for you, but the important thing is to give them space, to give them priority. So I would invite you here to also take a moment to think which of the things in your life, which of the activities, which of the environments, people, conversations, adventures, would you wanna create and protect more time? And maybe the answer comes to you immediately, if that is so great. If not, do take a moment to pause here and really reflect. What are a couple of things in your life that really from today on you wanna commit to creating even a little bit more space? The tip number 2 is following the small sparks of joy until they grow. Yeah, I really mean it. It's just about noticing and paying attention. Noticing and paying attention, what gives us a small spark of joy, a small moment of wonder, a small moment of awe, like, wow, this is so cool, a bit of inspiration, a bit of pleasure, a sense of connection, a sense of engagement and enjoyment, and just noticing these and starting to noticing them more. When we are not in habit of having these moments often and many and strong, then they will be in our life present in quite a subtle way. We might not even notice them. We might kind of not really harvest them and get a lot out of them. They might be kind of hidden between the everyday things. So what we want to do is we want to start noticing them more and more. Even if they're subtle and small, just paying attention. What can I be grateful for? What can I notice? What was a moment of good emotion in this day? And by that, I kid you not, when we start noticing them, they grow. And why do they grow? Because when we give them attention, we actually start seeing them more and more often, but we also start thinking about them and remembering of those moments more. We feed them through giving them more space in our head, engaging with them more active. And through that, they seem bigger and more important. It's like putting an extra light on them. It just makes them shine out more and gives them more, in a way, more attention, more space. And then they seem bigger, they seem more strong. And with that, again, it's easier to give them more attention, and then that makes them even bigger and even more strong. And doing that step by step leads us into giving more space and creating more energy around these things that gives us these emotions. And with that, we also start recognizing how many of these cool things and cool moments there are around us. And with that, we also become more optimistic. We start to enjoy them more, and we do continue looking for them even more. So the more you look, the more you find. It's a bit of a snowball effect. So your first task for today, or the second, after thinking of a few things you want to protect more time and space for, your second task today is to start paying a little bit more attention, so-called joy spotting task. Start to pay a bit more attention. What is giving you joy or any other positive emotion today, and just noticing it a little bit more than you normally would. Are you ready for task number 3? Okay, let's go with number 3. Ready for tip number 3? Tip number 3 is keeping your body alive in any way that works best for you. But it's really that vitality cannot happen if you don't have the foundation of physical energy. If your body doesn't feel good, if your energy on physical level doesn't feel abundant and free and available to you. So one of the key things to be able to live life with more engagement, for more zest, more vitality, is to learn to recharge well, to manage our energy in a good way, starting with physical energy. And for this, you can also check one of my recent podcasts on 7 types of rest. It might give you different ideas on this one. But having that foundation of building more of physical energy will allow you to kind of spread your wings and be more excited about life and to really savor things to the fullest and be present with them and be able to engage with them. If you find this concept challenging, back to the learning getaway, you might consider joining us for a week-long immersive learning event, possibly this year on Mindfulness in Istria, because on these events, we also not only give you the opportunity to recharge really well and experience many adventures and learn many tools, but we also work a lot with mindfulness and being more aware of our own level of energy, of our own body and needs and emotions. And with that, you also learn many tips and tricks to manage your energy better, while at the same time, you recharge pretty well in that week of amazing experience. Now, speaking of emotions, we are sliding in the tip number 4. And that is tuning up the curiosity and sense of wonder. And don't be mistaken, this is not an easy one. In our today's world, there is all this overstimuli we are receiving. There is so much noise. There is so much stuff coming up our way that it's completely normal and even survival mechanism, I would say, to protect ourselves from that often and to shut off from many of the stimuli and things coming our way, and in many ways to, just be less open to things. But that comes at a cost as well if we want to live rich and fulfilled. So how do you cultivate your curiosity and your sense of wonder? First of all, it goes one day at a time. So it's all about training your mindset into being a little bit more open and a little bit less judgmental, into asking a little bit more questions and making a little bit less of opinions or conclusions. It's as simple as that, yet as difficult as that. So the question for you is, what can you be curious about today? How can you approach life a little bit more with that sense of wonder? And with this idea world is something to explore and something to engage with. And even when it's a bit too noisy and when it feels like it's attacking all of our senses and overflowing our head with all the stimuli and input, can we still, on one side, keep some space for ourselves, but on the other side, still be curious about all of it and explore our experience and nourish that sense of wonder for the world around us. Now, the tip number 5 is seeing life as an adventure, even in moments when that can be a little bit. Seeing life as an adventure means to savor life a little bit more when it's great and exciting and when things that are happening are good, to allow space to really savor that and enjoy that and get most out of it. But it also means to build new exciting plans, and when life becomes a little bit boring and mundane, to be proactive about creating something adventurous and exciting. However, it also means to be able to look at life as an adventure in those moments when things are a little bit difficult. So when we are facing challenges, when we are in a situation that's not easy for us, when we feel depleted of our resources, or we have a big problem to solve, or something happens that causes many negative emotions for us, can we, or how can we, then still be open to engage with life and to not fall into the victim mode and feel like self-pity, and to not fall into a pure survivor mode when we are like totally under stress and fighting things and maybe doing well but feeling terrible. How can we instead remain curious, keep that sense of wonder about which I talked about in the tip number 4? How can we be curious about the problem ahead of us? How can we be curious about our own reactions and triggers and mental states and physical reactions? How can we be curious about our ways of dealing with that challenge? How can we be curious about why this challenge is so difficult for us? How can we be curious about how will it sort itself out? Even if we're not optimistic that it will be great. Can I be, even if I don't feel super positive, can I still be open and curious and proactive and adventurous about? That is the root cause of courage and engaging with life actively and living it like it's an adventure. So on one side, savoring the great things. On the second thing, Also, bringing in more excitement into the mundane and creating adventures and new plans. But on the third aspect, also being open to seeing challenges and adversities in a new way. Well, if that's something you struggle with, I'm sure by now you know that on Happiness Academy we also work on the topic of resilience within virtual course called The Art of Resilience. I am linking it in the description. So if while I was talking about dealing well with the challenge and being adventurous in the face of the challenge, if you're like, what the hell, what a crazy idea, then do check that one out. It might be very valuable for you. And of course, about all of these that tips that we're playing with are also tips we'll be exploring a lot within the Learning Getaway that I mentioned quite a few times already on mindfulness in Istria. So that might be a great adventure for you to learn and explore and get, away with many more tools. Now, let's take a moment before switching off to reflect which of these do you want to put in practice right now in your everyday life. Because just sharing those ideas and reflecting on them and even taking some of them like interesting ones, it counts for nothing if you don't also do something with them and do something actively. So let me summarize them quickly, and please, as I do it, you choose one that you will be really focusing on throughout this week. So first thing was creating or protecting the time and space for what matters. Second was following the small sparks of joy until they grow. So joy spotting, let's say. Third one was keeping your body more alive physically, keeping better energy physically, taking better care of your physical energy, learning to recharge better in any way that works best for you. Fourth one was tuning up curiosity and sense of wonder around the world around us. And fifth one is seeing life as adventure in good times, boring times, or difficult times. So keep on that perspective of seeing life and living life as an adventure. So which one is it for you? Protecting the time, spotting the joy, keeping the body alive, tuning up curiosity, or seeing life as an adventure? I would be very curious which of these most resonated with you. Do let me know. You can do it here in comments. You can always hit reply to one of my newsletters. That's the best way to engage and share your preferences and ideas. And you can also send me Instagram message on Happiness Academy. I will link all these in the description as well. And I'm very much looking forward to connecting in the next episodes. As always, I would love to hear from you also. Which topics would you like to be listening about? Was there some idea that I shared you would like me to dive deeper into, share more practical tools on how to do that in practice? If so, do let me know on any of the mentioned channels. See you soon! Thank you for exploring this topic with me. I hope you found some exciting ideas and tools that you will use already today. Remember, they only work if you put them in practice, but then they make all the difference. If you like Happiness Academy podcast, do leave us a rating and a review. It will be really helpful. And if you haven't done it yet, click on the links in the episode description to discover free materials and valuable resources to dive in deeper. See you in the next episode or at the Happiness Academy newsletter.